You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com.
Sharad, what happened in your world that caused you to say, I think I might want to start a software company?
The most important thing in business, your best success and your worst failures will come from people that you hire. The skill set is the easy part to teach, but you cannot teach someone work ethics, right? If someone is stealing from you, not showing up on time, you cannot have them go take a course at some, coaching programs. Hey, can you just take this course and, they'll teach you how to be honest. Either you are or you're not.
Today's episode is brought to you by RESimpli.com. If you're in the real estate game like I am, you know just how wild it can get managing everything from lead tracking to marketing, sales, and operations. That's exactly where RESimpli, an all-in-one software for real estate investors, comes in. It's a lifesaver for thousands of investors out there. What's incredible about RESimpli is that it is packed with everything you need. List stacking, driving for dollars, automated drip campaigns, a cold call calling dialer, complete phone system, email management, speed to lead, buyer management, a comprehensive task system, accounting features, and much more. It's like a powerhouse software crafted just for us in the real estate world, eliminating the need for juggling multiple subscriptions and integrations. So check out RESimpli if you want to streamline your investing business and start closing more deals. Sign up through RESimpli.com/Hartman. That's RESIMPLI.com/HARTMAN. And you'll snag 50% off of your first month. Plus, they're going to throw in a 14-day trial, so don't miss out and give it a look. Welcome to REIA Radio with Sharad Mehta. Nice. There you go.
Sharad, welcome to the show. This has been on the calendar for a bit, and I've been excited to talk to you. I know you've got, so digging into our deep research like we do, we figured out that you were on Bigger Pockets on one of the OG episodes.
155.
155.
Yeah.
With Josh Dorkin and Brandon Turner.
Yeah.
So how was that? I was curious on what was the connection there? Like, how did you get on their radar and get on the podcast? And then has your life changed any since then?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, Ted, Owen, thank you for having me on the podcast. Super excited to be on the podcast. Definitely loving the vibe of the podcast so far. So I was pretty active on Bigger Pockets back in the day, when I started investing, like 2010, 11, 12, 13. I was pretty active on Bigger Pockets. And then, they had sent out an email to everyone, like all the subscribers and whatnot. Hey, if you have interesting story to share, like fill out this form. So I filled it out. That's how I got into Bigger Pockets podcast. And it definitely changed my business. I think it went live in 2015, end of 15, I believe. And that kind of gave birth to the turnkey business that I still have. I still get, people reaching out to me from that Bigger Pocket podcast. So it was absolutely, a great opportunity to be there.
And you have the original OG crew.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Josh Dorkin, the reclusive Josh Dorkin now. He's kind of out of the limelight a little bit. When we look at a podcast guest, like you have, there's a lot of content in there, and our job as hosts is to kind of tease out the good stuff and distill it into interesting stories and in a format that users really like to hear, right? But you have so much.
I was going to say, if you're trying to get the good stuff, it's not going to be a very long podcast then. I should be out here in 15 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be a quick one. 1 hour would be really pushing it on the quick side. So, but I thought it'd be fun in looking at your background. You've done a whole bunch of different things within real estate investing, but one thing that is interesting to me, and it's kind of like you're a gunslinger a little bit when you go to a sheriff's auction or a real estate auction where they're basically doing foreclosure disposition. So the bank has filed a foreclosure. It's going up for auction. Highest bidder gets it. Got to pay cash. I wanted to like maybe dig into that a little bit and see how you got started in that. And you've got to have an interesting or funny story or two along the way with that, I would imagine. I bought a small handful of them at auction, and it's stressful and really and risky, and can be really, really highly profitable if you do it right. So,
yeah, for sure.
How'd you get started in that?
Yeah, so this is back, now I live in San Diego area. Back in the day, I used to live in Chicago. That's why I started investing in Indiana. So like, just for context, the area that I invest in is practically a suburb of Chicago. It's like 30, 45 minutes outside of Chicago. I have an office in Indiana where my property management company runs their business from. It's 30, 45 minutes outside of Chicago. So that's how I started investing in Indiana. And I bought my first property in 2010, and then this was from MLS. As you know, until 2012, 13, you could still buy stuff easily from MLS until 2012. 13, 14, it started getting a little bit tougher. And then I started looking at kind of, okay, how do I buy other properties? I wasn't doing any direct to seller marketing back then. So foreclosure auction, you know, I think I had done some research online. People mentioned foreclosure auction, you know, you can buy some pretty good deals. So I would, you know, at one point I was buying like 2-3 houses a month from, you know, going at these auctions. It's an absolutely amazing experience. Sometimes you end up overpaying because you just get, you know, caught up in the moment, and you're like, oh, I got to get this. Your ego gets involved. Like, I got to get this house somehow, you know,
I want to be that guy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. So yeah, I mean, like, and then the interesting thing is back in the day, I haven't bought at auction in a while now, but at least back in the day, all these banks would have used the same locks or similar, you know, same brand of lock set. It was Quickset or something. I forgot the brand. And then, you know, all these locks back in the day would have like 10 different kind of keys with like serial number and whatnot. So you could actually get these set of keys, 8 to 10 different set of keys. And then you would go to these houses with these, you know, set of keys. And then 90% of the houses, you could just go right in. Like you just unlock, go right in, which was like pretty insane. And pretty much every investor had these set of keys. But it was absolutely amazing. Like we got cops called on us a couple of times, you know. So sometimes the opening bid would come out a day before, or it would get adjusted a day before. And, you know, and after 2015, I was actually flying out from San Diego once a month to buy these properties. And I would go fly out 2 days before, see the bid prices, fly out 2 days before. And then sometimes the bid price, like a house that had an opening bid of, let's say, 150,000, like, oh no, the house is only worth 200. I'm not going to waste my time. But then the bid price would get updated to like 50,000. Like, oh, I got to definitely go check it out. So you would go in the middle of the night, you know, like after dark. And sometimes, you know, a couple of times the neighbors called cops on us, and then you just had to explain, oh, I'm just a real estate investor, you know. And then you would have this list of houses. Oh, look, this house is coming up for foreclosure. I'm buying this. And you're like, oh my God, this is like really sketchy stuff that we're doing going into these houses. And sometimes you would buy a house you thought was vacant, and then after you closed on it, you know, you had all the paperwork and whatnot, and it turned out there was actually someone living in that house. You had to go through the eviction process and whatnot. You know, it was a lot of fun, a lot of drama, but definitely worthwhile. Back in the day, I haven't bought at foreclosure in like 4 or 5 years now, but when I used to, it was super exciting for me to like fly out. And because I was flying out from San Diego, it's like, oh, I gotta buy at least 2 houses for the trip to make sense, you know. So it was a lot of fun.
I was thinking back while you were telling that story about the different warnings that I've gotten from cops on trespassing, because I've done the whole like, oh, the door's locked, the keys, and I had that same set of keys. And a lot of the realtors around town, if it was a bank foreclosure or a pre-foreclosure even, they would put lock boxes on. They would all use the same code. But then I got really this is pretty funny. I actually just did this week, but I can get into, if a door is not deadbolted, I can get into it usually under 30 seconds with a credit card.
Yeah. We've done that too. If the deadbolt, if the house didn't have a deadbolt, in some cases you could just like swipe your credit card, push it at a certain angle, and it would just open the door.
He does that to our podcast studio.
Yeah, like literally, I don't have a key to our podcast studio. It's always locked. So every time I come in, they're like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll call so and so," and they have the key or whatever. I'm like, "I'm good," and I just pull out my AAA credit card. And
I got an Amex Black for this. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't want to use a nice credit card for that.
Yeah. I use your ARP card for that.
Yeah, no, I use my freaking AAA card, which I've never used before in my life or anything other than that. But no, that's great. And no, just to kind of like a couple more things on the auction. Now, when you are bidding on these, you have to come with cash, right? Like, or a cashier's check. And I know each county or state, a lot of them are different on exactly how they handle that. How much time do you have? Like, let's say you win a bid, you're bidding on the courthouse steps or the sheriff's office or wherever you're at, and you get the winning bid and it's $100,000. What happens then? And how much time?
We used to have 2 hours to go to a bank and get a cashier's check. So we had 2 hours to do that. And that's it. Was basically, you had to have money available before you could buy a house. So you couldn't bid 200,000, then figure out you only have 100,000 in the bank, and like, okay, what do I do? And then they could ban you from ever buying again. And then they could also take some action against you because you bid on a house. You kind of, the bank could have gone to back to the bank, or it could have gone back to the homeowner or whatnot in certain situations. And now you bid on a house that you didn't have money to pay for. It never happened to me, but I know it happened with a couple of other guys. So you had to have money in cashier's check, exact amount within 2 hours.
Anyway, the point is, if you like action, that's a great entree into real estate, is get involved in buying.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's a great place to find cash buyers. I mean, those are literally people that have cash available to buy properties.
That's a great tip too. If you're
that's a gold nugget if I ever heard it.
Yeah. And I just want to call out one thing. You mentioned like your ego gets in the way sometimes when you're bidding, right? You're at auction and you're like, I have a plan. I know I'm not going above $100,000, not a penny more. I'm good. All right. And then you get to the auction and then you're bidding, and then somebody else in the room is bidding, or maybe more than one person, and then it gets real close to your like max bid, but you can tell they're losing steam, or at least it seems like they are. And then you look at them and there was one guy or this group that always used to come, and if you're trying to win it, you'll jump the bid by like $5,000 or $10,000 just to like speed it up a little, right? So if something's way undervalued, you may be like, I'm gonna pay $5,000 over what this bid is at right now, just to show that I'm, I want this and it's mine and whatever. And then the guy would be like, look you straight in the eyes and be like, $1 over. Like, and then you did $5,000, $1 over, and he's just like deadpan looking at you. Just, what, F you, man. And then you get up to your max bid, and then you're like, okay, 105, 110. It's like crazy town.
Oh, seriously. And then you would get assigned, at least in our county, we would get assigned a number. So I was number 44. And then you're like, oh, I don't want this house to go to number 17, because, like that's how you kind of knew the other bidders by their numbers that they were. So it was the same number you had throughout the year. It's like, I don't want this house to go to number 17. Oh, I got to get this house, and ego would get involved. Sometimes you would end up overpaying. Yeah, but we did pretty good on the auction houses back in the day. Yeah.
I've never done a car or a house auction. I've done a car auction before online, like bring a trailer. So in that, I mean, I always felt that I always wanted to be the last person bidding. I always waited till like the last minute or two. Is it best just to keep bidding through the whole process? Like, what's the tip and trick for that?
I mean, I would typically wait until like the last, when it lost a little bit of steam. I mean, sometimes the bank would also like get involved. Like if the bidding was pretty slow, in our case, the lender would just, if let's say the opening bid was 30,000 and the house was clearly it was going to sell for 150,000, the bank would just like take it straight up to like 100,000, 125,000, just to kind of get the things exciting. But I personally would wait until like the very end, when there was like one or two people remaining.
Yeah. And there's sometimes you see like several people that'll do that. So it'll be like Fast and Furious, and then it'll be like, okay, going once, going twice, and then somebody will be like 101, and then somebody's like 102, 103, 100. Like it's weird. It just kind of like takes a life of its own. But now, okay, so auctions, you have bought sounds like a lot of properties at auction. But let's maybe roll back the clock a little bit on how you originally got started in real estate investing. Could you mind sharing the story there? That wasn't how you planned everything when you came to the States, right?
Yeah. So basically, I had a good corporate job. I was a CPA working for an accounting firm, one of the largest accounting firms in the country, living in Chicago, pretty good life, but just the company was great, but I didn't like the work. I didn't just see myself doing it forever. So I wanted to do something else, where I had more control of my time and money. At one point, got really into poker, like seriously into poker. And it just, I was absolutely horrible at it. Like I have the worst poker face. If I had pocket aces, you would know, what I have. So it was just absolutely horrible. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to be my career. Then wanted to do some other things, wanted to be a stock trader, trade stocks and bonds. Again, I just don't have I was just like too anxious with stocks going up and down. So then, but I'd always been into personal finance, came across a book called Flip, read that. And then from there, Amazon suggested a book called Millionaire Real Estate Investor. So I started doing a little bit of research, and 80% of people who become millionaire become through real estate. At least that's what I read. Like, okay, it seems like I want to be a millionaire, and real estate seems like a very relatable asset, especially growing up in India. Like, everyone just talks about buying real estate, buying properties. So that's how I started, read the book. It just like related to the book. It was a slow, long-term process of building your wealth, which I was totally okay with. So I started doing that, bought my first property in August 2010. It was a 2-unit listed on the market for, I think, 75,000, I forgot. I bought it for 25,000, put 10 into it. So I was all in for 35. It was rented for $1,300, the 2 units combined. And I'm like, oh, this is great, And then bought another one a month later, a 3-unit, all in for 50, 55. I was getting $1,700, $1,800 a month in rent. These were all from MLS. Like the first year or so, you could just buy stuff from MLS, back 2010, 11, 12. It was just super easy. You could just pick any house, buy it, and like you were the only bidder on it. Banks were just happy to get rid of these properties. So that's kind of how I got started in real estate. But I was
it's just like it is today, pretty much. That's how it is. Just go on MLS and just pick up your $6,000, $50,000 threeplex.
Seriously, oh man, that's one regret. I wish I just bought more. Yeah, just kept buying more and more. Like as the prices went up from like 30 to let's say 40, I'm like, oh, this is insane. It went up 33%. That doesn't make any sense. But I wasn't thinking like it's still such a huge value that I wish I just kept buying more and more. I've been a little bit more aggressive at buying. So, but I still have a pretty decent portfolio, which I'm happy with. But, you always have like, you don't talk to any real estate investor who sold property, especially long-term rental. Like, oh, I wish I had, they always say, I wish I had not sold it and kept more.
When I was doing some research, I found out that you had 50 properties at one point and all but 2 were paid off. Is that correct?
Yeah, I still do. I have about 60 plus units now. And I think 95% of them are still paid for free and clear. The other 2 that I have, I don't have like total maybe $50,000 in loan. The other 2 properties combined, so it's not but it's at a pretty low interest rate. So I'm like, I'm just gonna just let it stay on the books. But I was very intentional about that. I'm a very conservative person when it comes to finances, so I didn't want to worry about having mortgage to pay, like tenant not paying, but I still have a mortgage to pay. So I totally understand I can definitely have a much bigger portfolio, like 150, 200 units if I leverage the properties that I have. But I'm happy with the units that I have. It kind of keeps me stress-free with my portfolio, but allows me to focus on other things like RESimpli, my house flipping business, and other things that I have going on, without stressing out about my rental properties.
But how were you able to achieve that many paid off properties in just 5 years? Is that correct?
Yeah. So for one thing, it was the prices were pretty inexpensive. So when I decided to leave my job, I had some money saved up. So that helped me buy, like I had about 100,000 saved up. So that helped me with the first couple of properties. And then after that, I started borrowing from friends and family, private lender. But I was very intentional about having 7-year amortization, 2-year balloon, just so that I could pay them off really quick, where the cash flow that I had coming in was going all towards paying off these loans. So I was very mindful about just paying them as quickly as I possibly could and not get used to the cash flow coming in and start using for my other expenses. One thing that really helped was my wife and I, we've always lived on lower of the two income. So we always save the higher income. So when I decided to leave my job, it really didn't have any impact on our lifestyle. So I could have the money that I was coming in from these properties. I could take that money and just keep reinvesting into more real estate, paying off the loans, and just keep doing that more and more.
Now, you live in San Diego now, right?
I do, yes.
You lived in Chicago and invested in Northwest Indiana. Like you said, it's basically a suburb of Chicago where you started.
Right.
At what time frame did you end up packing up and moving to San Diego, and why?
August 2015. Actually, it's been, it's interesting. It might be exactly 7-8 years now. Yeah. Or 9 years. To August 2015, my wife got a job offer from a company in Carlsbad where we live now. So it's a little bit north of San Diego, but it's San Diego County. So she received a job offer from a company in Carlsbad. We came out, absolutely amazing weather. So we decided to just move here and have been here. I mean, we went to Canada in between for 3 years for my wife's job, but this is it. This is our permanent home now.
Yeah. Oh man,
it's such a pretty area.
Yeah, we had we went there for the Bigger Pockets conference a couple of years ago when it was in San Diego, and that was the first time and only time I'd ever been there, and it's something else. The weather was beautiful, and I get it.
When I was in my 20s, I took a 4-week vacation from work, and my good friend lived over in Ocean Beach, just literally a block off the beach, and that's kind of the hippier area. But literally spent a whole entire month there, and then we had another friend that lived in La Jolla, so I got to experience everything that San Diego had to offer.
Cool.
It was so fun.
Sharad, now you bought your first couple. You mentioned a duplex and a 3-unit, and then you left your job and then kind of just kept going and basically used your wife's income from her corporate job to pay the household expenses. And then you were reinvesting profits from your real estate portfolio back into the business. Is this tracking so far with your...
Yeah.
Okay. What moves did you make along the way that kind of poured gas on the fire? Because 50, I mean, I want to highlight the fact that you have around 50 paid off properties.
60 plus doors, 60 plus units. What about 40, 45 actual properties?
And you're, not to reference the Bigger Pockets podcast again, but it seems like you got called out for looking about 10 years older than you actually are. By Josh.
I mean, it's the camera adds 10 years to your life. It just makes you.
That's what I've been telling Ted.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the weight stuff isn't true. It's the age stuff. That's true. Yeah. But it makes you looks 10-year-old, especially me.
Would you mind sharing your story about when you got to college, when you were filling out your paperwork?
Oh man, yeah. So
I think it is hilarious. So please tell the story.
So I went to college. I mean, for the first semester, I went to college in Long Island. I think it's called. I shouldn't even name the college. I don't know if they can press some come back to me.
For limitations is passed by now. You're probably good.
Yeah, it was some college in Long Island. Okay, so I go and I'm filling out this ethnicity form. Right, I'm going down the list of these options that I had. And this is just mind you, I just moved from India, barely spoke English, never filled out anything. When you were in India, you were just Indian. So it was just that was it. There were no other options. So I'm going down this list. I see Caucasians. I'm like, oh, maybe there's some sort of Asian people, and I'm being very, very truthful. I had no idea. I never heard that term Caucasian in my life. So I thought there was some sort of Asian people that I never heard of. And it was African American, I had no idea. And then there's Asians, and then I saw American Indians, right? And there was Hispanic also, so which I had no idea what it was. So I saw American Indian. So I'm thinking, okay, I am in America. I'm from India. So just in mind, I'm okay, I'm an American Indian. I checked that.
Sense. Yeah.
So I checked that without thinking anything of it. And then I'm thinking to myself, my God, this country absolutely freaking loves Indians. They don't have American Chinese. They don't have American Japanese. They don't have American whatever. But they have a separate category for American Indians. And everyone else is Asian. And I'm this is amazing. I'm going to love this country. This is like first, I don't know, month or so of me coming to US, and I'm 18. I just turned 18. So I checked that box. I didn't even think of it. I thought it was just a required thing. I checked that. And then 2 weeks later, I kid you not, I get like a scholarship check of like $5,000. And I didn't connect any of that, right? I just didn't. And because in my mind, I believe I'm American Indian, and then I get this check and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And I'm thinking, my God, how awesome can this country be? First, they have a separate category for American Indians. So they recognize the value that we add. And secondly, they see how smart I am, even though I didn't do really good at SAT, how smart I am that they're giving me $5,000 to be. I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. So this was spring semester 2001. So I moved there, I moved from India to US Jan 2001, right? So this is my spring semester. And then after that, there's summer break, and I decided to go to a different college. So they give me the same form, but this time I'm sitting across from a college counselor filling out this form. So I go down that list, I fill out same thing, American Indian. And she's like, wait, you're American Indian? I'm like, yeah, I'm from India. I'm in America. Like, can you not put that together? Duh. And then she explained me what it was. I'm like, oh, no way. And all this while for good 7-8 months, I thought I was American Indian. Yeah. So then all of that made sense. But,
oh my God. That is classic. That's such a good story, man.
Yeah. And then after I talked about that, other people reached out to me who was like in similar situation. They thought they were American Indians too. Yeah. Yeah. So we're a minority within a minority group of people. So we should definitely have some special privileges for people like me.
I feel like you should start a subreddit
for
American Indians, but from India.
Yeah, exactly. Or just stupid Indians who are just not interested in learning any history or whatnot.
Okay, let's talk rentals and flips. Now, you've grown a pretty impressive portfolio, and by the way, underlining that whole portfolio is the fact that there's no debt on the vast majority of it, which, I mean, I'm not anywhere close to that. So that's I recognize what you had to sacrifice for that. And you could have had a much different financial situation if you were leveraging 80% of that, right? I mean, you know that, everybody knows that it's in real estate. So mad respect for that. And I can tell you, especially, this had to be really validating for you the last probably, 3 years that we've gone through all the huge interest rate spikes where you're like, hey, how's that? The interest rates going from, 4% to 8.5% now. What's that like, seeing all this carnage play out in front of you where most investors are leveraged, pretty highly and they scale up and you're kind of trucking along with a good sized portfolio, but you could be doing a lot more, but you've chosen the direction you've chosen.
Yeah. I mean, I have a line of credit against my properties just that I use for flips, but no long-term debt on these. No, I mean, honestly, when I started investing, I was never driven by money. I think that helped a lot. My goal wasn't to, there's two things you can do, right? You can get return on your time and return on your money. So for me, the goal was always to get a return on my time, and money is okay. Maybe I've always had this mindset of I need a certain amount of money to have a decent lifestyle. But beyond that, I don't have any aspirations. Maybe, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, to, own a private jet or, have these crazy expenses. I drive a minivan, and then we have a Tesla Model Y, which is I can afford more expensive car, but it just fills the purpose. And I don't have any goals of, this is one thing I struggle with sometimes where I'm working with a business coach and he would say, oh, Sharad, if you hit this number or, if this goal, how do you want to reward yourself? I'm like, I don't know. I have everything that I could ever imagine and more, so there's nothing that I need or want beyond what I have. So I think just not being money driven, it was the best choice for me. I have an accounting degree. I'm good with numbers. So I understand the money that I left on the table, not leveraging, but it works for my life. So it makes me happy. I have a decent cash flow coming in. and it just fits perfectly with my life. It's allowed me to do the other things that I'm doing in my business now. So I think that's one thing that's worked really well for me, is knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing and not really comparing myself with other people. Like, there's one thing getting inspired by other people, but it still has to be aligned with what you want to do. Like, I'm not on any social media. I don't have any, I shouldn't say, I have Instagram that my team manages for business purpose, but I never log in. I don't have username, password, a Facebook account that I just log into. I have a bookmark on my browser that I just go into our RESimpli Facebook group. So outside of that, I don't go into any social media. I don't see what other people are doing. It's great. It works for them, but I just have to focus on what are the things that I'm doing that align with my long-term goal and opportunities.
What brings you joy in life? What do you spend your excess money on? Is it travel? Like, what are some of the things that you like to indulge in if you had extra cash?
Teslas.
Yeah. Experiences, I would say experiences are important. Like, when I look back at my life, I remember the things that we did as a family together. I don't remember if my dad or my parents bought me this gift that I'm so glad they did. I don't even remember any of that, honestly. It could be because I'm just getting old now. I remember the experiences that I had, like the vacations that we used to take, the trips that we used to go. It wasn't anything fancy. We go to this hill station every year, but it was the people that we went with, like the things that we did. So for me, that's what I want to provide to my kids, my family, like the experiences. Those are the things that have the biggest impact and influence on your life, are those experiences. So that's what I like to spend money on, is travel. Like, my parents were here last month, so we took them to Hawaii for a week. We're going to Costa Rica, and then last year for Christmas, we live not too far from Disneyland, so we just for Christmas we drove up and stayed there for 3-4 days. Those sort of things, like seeing your kids happy and having those experiences, are the things that make me super happy. And plus, if you ask this question to my wife, she'll say I spend a lot of money on pickleball paddles, but it's still, that's besides the point.
Well, I heard the new thing with the Airbnbs is to put pickleball courts.
Oh my God.
Airbnbs.
Yeah.
In them? No,
in the backyard.
Backyard, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's going to eat up a lot of real estate.
It's a hot thing right now. Is adding.
Yeah.
And it's
sure.
It's really cheap. You're just putting a slab of concrete.
And if you do that, I would like to book that Airbnb. Yep. Bring 3 of my buddies down. Yeah. Okay.
So that's my goal next year, is I'm going to add a pickleball court to my nice Airbnb.
Of course.
Nice.
All right. So, Sharad, what happened in your world that caused you to say, I think I might want to start a software company? Clearly, your whole background led up to software products being developed. Right?
For one, I'm from India, so people expected me to be in some sort of a tech stuff.
You're a huge stereotype there. You're not a doctor or a software engineer.
Oh my God. This is a disappointment that I would see on people's faces when I told them I'm an accountant. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Yeah, maybe that's why probably I ended up leaving. So I moved from Chicago to San Diego area, and I still had this flipping business. I was flipping about 40, 50 houses. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I need some systems and processes. And around that time, I read the book E-Myth Revisited. So that had a big influence on kind of how I started looking at my business. And then, also around that time, it started getting more challenging to find your deals. Flying from San Diego to Chicago every month, it wasn't really practical. So I started looking at direct-to-seller marketing. I'm like, okay, I have these leads coming in. I need CRM. So I looked at all the options that were basically available out there. Pretty much back in the day, this is 2015, 16, everyone was talking about Podio. So I created an account on Podio, logged on for 2 minutes. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to use this. This is
difficult.
Difficult. Too clunky, looks like total crap. And then I have to go out and get all these other software to integrate. I'm not doing this. I look like a software engineer, but I'm not a software engineer. So I decided to hire a couple of developers, end of 16, early 17, just to create something very specific for me, for my business need. And so So that was an interesting journey. It definitely recently came about from personal need that I had for a software that worked for very specific purpose that I had. And I didn't see anything that was in the market. Probably if I had not moved from Chicago to San Diego area, I probably would not have started RESimpli. Or if there was a better solution available back in the day, then I would not have started RESimpli. But I'm so glad, I'm so blessed that, I did. It's like helped me like do so many other cool things in life.
I tell you what, at one point we were going to record and Owen wasn't going to be on the podcast. And so I reached out to my circle and I was like, hey, who's using RESimpli? And, trying to find somebody that could come on with us, have some good conversations and that. And a gentleman, a good friend of ours, Clint Bartlett, and he's like, he goes, I use it for all my business. I am a massive fan of it. He goes, I'm a super user. And just spoke so highly of your business and actually you personally. I guess you guys know each other on
we were in a mastermind together. Yeah. And Clint has the best hairstyle. Yeah. You can't beat that.
Best hair. And second to Owen here. And
I'll probably be wearing the Clint here soon.
But in all honesty, I mean, he said it was game changing for his business and the user friendliness. And I mean, I've been involved in some podios and I absolutely cannot stand. It's just so clunky and so complicated. But yeah, he just had nothing but positive things to say.
Yeah, thank you. No, Clint's amazing. We were in a mastermind together. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What mastermind was it?
Multipliers. It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, but yeah, back in the day.
I want to just briefly explore what it's like starting a software company when you have no software engineering background or design background. Am I right in understanding that you basically figured out that I have some gaps in my business that I would be really helpful if some technology existed that could help automate some things and make some business processes smoother? Is that 100%. Kind of what happened? And then all of a sudden you got a software product and you have a brand and you're like, was this the plan or were you just like, I just want to make my life better and now here we are?
Yeah, no, the plan initially was just to make my life better. Like, of course, I was thinking a little bit long term that, hey, eventually I, would like to have other people use it also. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if nobody else gets value, but I get value out of it, it helps me with my business. So it'll be totally worth it. No, but it was definitely painful, right? I mean, hiring developer overseas and not coming from a tech background, just coming from a business background, and then just telling these developers what you need and assuming that they understand exactly what you need. And then they come back to you and present you something that's totally different from what you had in mind. And just knowing that you are based in US, the prices that these people are, quoting you, and it was just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I think like the first 6 months or so, 6 months or maybe longer of the time and money that I invested, that was like total crap. Like we just basically got rid of that code, restarted. I was more involved in the development part of it, like just like checking in with my team more regularly, more frequently, just so that we could just course correct if they were going off track. So it's been a very, very interesting learning experience, but it's made us who we are at this point, just making those mistakes, knowing what works for us, knowing what doesn't work for us. I mean, at the end of the day, the most important thing in business, your best success and your worst failures will come from people that you hire. It's like the CTO of our company was someone that I hired for $6 an hour back in the day, and he's making pretty good money now. Same thing with a VA that I hired from Bangladesh, paying him $3 an hour back in the day, and he's making tons of money. He's the head of our marketing and CS team now. So just building our team around the good people that you hire. I mean, now that we hire someone, it's the most important thing is they must have the right work ethics. If they don't have the exact skill, I mean, the development is a little bit different, but if you hire someone for marketing or CS, the skill set is the easy part to teach, but you cannot teach someone work ethics, right? If someone is stealing from you, not showing up on time, you cannot have them go take a course at some, coaching programs. Hey, can you just take this course and, they teach you how to be honest. Either you are or you're not, right? I mean, that's kind of how we look at it. But if someone has the right work ethic, then you can teach them any skill. You can hire that person, and instead of someone who has the right work ethics and skill set, they may be up and running in a month, but this person, you give them another month. If they have the right work ethics, it's worth waiting an extra month investing in that person. So I think that has paid really well for us, is just finding the right people and then building your team around it.
It's just amazing that you're able to outsource and not be the developer of an industry leading company like you've created, that you've been able to take the concepts that, that you're like, hey, I get this vision, and trying to put it out there and put it, without working on it hands on, and depend on other people, then create something that is, the leading standard for your industry.
No, I think it's like starting with the vision of knowing who we're creating this for, right? At the end of the day, I think it goes back to not leading with money, like not using that as the motivation that, hey, I want to make, so much money from this, but leading with, okay, what is it that we're doing? Why are we doing what we're doing? And then just be hyper focused on that part of it and just be obsessed with it. I think that helps a lot. Like sometimes I would give my cell phone number to some of our customers. Hey, if you have any questions, just text me directly. I want to make sure that you're getting the service that you expect and you pay for. And that's the thing that we take very, very seriously, is like the customer support part of it. That if someone is signing up for RESimpli, they're trusting us with their business, they're trusting us with their livelihood. So that's something we take super, super seriously. Like there's certain data we look at on a daily basis that gets reported to me to make sure like these things are absolutely non-negotiable. This needs to happen in our business. It's a very small thing that we look at, but it makes a world of difference in our business and what we're doing.
Now, we've been talking about RESimpli back and forth, but for the people that don't know what RESimpli is, can you give like the elevator pitch of what is the perfect client for you?
Yeah. So let's say this elevator is in Burj Khalifa, because we need a little bit of time. So, we need like, it's at least 100 story. But yeah, 100 story. Okay. All right. So no, but it's basically like for, your audience is real estate investor. So I would just say, a typical real estate investor is buying a list, stacking their list, cold calling them, texting them, sending them direct mail. Then they need a website just for the marketing part of it. Then they need all these leads coming in, manage the leads, within the CRM, call them, text them, automate all of that, email them, and then, manage your buyers list, have a website for the buyers, and then do bookkeeping, accounting. So RESimpli does all except the list buying part of it. That's where it gets a little bit wonky. Like people are very particular about what list they want to buy. So anything you can, like once you bought the list, everything you want to do in your business, you can do within RESimpli. You can get a website, you can dial from our platform, you can stack your list. We're known as a CRM company, but we do a lot more than CRM. But we have a phone system built in. You can call, text, email from within our platform. You can receive emails from within our platform. So the idea was, when we started the company, was like there were 3 requirements. It had to be super simple to use, and that's what the name RESimpli. It had to be an all-in-one software where everyone in our business could be on one software, and then it had to give really good KPIs. Just that comes from my accounting background, that we should be able to make decisions based on the numbers, not based on the gut feeling. So those were the 3 requirements that we have, and every day we're working towards that goal.
Well, I think it's a no-brainer if you're brand new getting in, but I think the biggest hurdle that you're probably trying to get over is the person that's used a separate platform for years. Yeah. And they're really scared about transferring all that data over, and not causing an issue with having downtime. So how do you guys battle that?
Yeah, at this point we've had investors from pretty much any software switched over to RESimpli, and then we have a team within our CS team dedicated to help make the transition as smooth as possible. Right? At this point we have investors that are doing 25, 30, 35 deals a month, every month, using our platform. So, but the nature of the industry, you'll see a lot more beginners. But the way we built our system is like it scales with you as you scale, right? So if you're a newbie, like there's everything you can imagine, like driving for dollars, website, everything that you need to run your business is included. But when you're switching from another platform to RESimpli, like a couple of things, or any platform, if you think you're making a decision for growth, you have to look at, okay, by not switching, how much money are you leaving on the table by the existing systems and processes that you have? Yes, it's going to be painful. It's never a smooth process, right? I mean, you have to get used to the new system. So it's going to take you like a month or two just to get fully up and running, not from the data point of view, but just from your systems and processes point of view to just get used to the new system. But the question you have to ask is, okay, if I do not make this decision, am I better off in the long term or not, right? Are you just for a small pain that's going to last you maybe a month or two? I mean, I wouldn't even call it pain, like inconvenience that's going to last you a month or two. But look at how much additional value that you're going to get out of it. Like in my personal business, I closed a deal a couple of months ago that was in our follow-up pipeline for 400 days, and we're going to make about 90,000 on it. Like imagine if and we consistently hear that from our investor, that they're closing deals from 2-3 years of follow-up that RESimpli automated follow-up was doing, that they had forgotten about. And I'm going to make like 90,000 on it myself as a business, and like that pays for my marketing system and process for many years to come. So I think that's what you have to look at, is what's the opportunity cost of not making the switch versus like what you're doing, and then you just get used to, you get in your comfort zone. All the growth in your life is going to come outside of your comfort zone. So that's what we always tell. When people understand, they see the value, like, it's on average, investor switching from RESimpli to our platform gets rid of 4 to 5 subscriptions, like easily. Just imagine not having to log into different software, like how much like less mental bandwidth that it'll take on your mind, right? Like you want simple things in your life. It's the most complex thing to do is create something simple that's going to scale your business.
I have some quick rapid fire questions for you on this. So if let's say I'm kind of an investor that's a hybrid. So like let's say I identify as a flipper, but I also have some rental properties, or maybe I dabble in I don't know what else, redevelopment projects or whatever.
Pronouns.
So who is your audience for this? Are they flippers? It sounds like you handle lead management and marketing, and then is there an accounting function to this, or bookkeeping?
There is, yeah. Well, I don't use QuickBooks in my business. I haven't used QuickBooks for 3-4 years now. It run everything from RESimpli, and a lot of other investors do. So one thing I would say is it's built for people that are doing some sort of direct to seller marketing. If you're buying a stuff here or there from MLS and then you're flipping it, or you're taking it down as a rent, it's not for that purpose. You could use it, we'll happily take your money, but it's not going to add you the most value. But if you're doing direct to seller marketing, I think that's where we add the most value. That's what I would say 90-95% of the investors that are using RESimpli are doing some sort of direct to seller marketing, whether it's direct mail, PPC, cold calling, radio, TV, doesn't matter. Their intent is to buy properties off market without getting listed on the with an agent.
Now, you mentioned the driving for dollars. So how does that really work? So there's an app, obviously, for RESimpli, RESimpli, and we go through, I find a property, I take a picture of it, I write down the address. What does RESimpli do for you as far as research on that? Is it able to look up information on that, on that property?
Yeah, so basically we have a native iOS and Android app, and driving for dollars is a feature that's included in all the plans, even the one at $99 a month. So you just basically, when you want to drive around, you just go into the app, start driving, and then you see a property, you just tap on it, and it just gets added into list stacking automatically. You don't have to do anything. It's like fully integrated. You just tap on the property address, and it just gives you the information, and it gets added into your database, and then you can market. You can market from the app, also call them, send them a postcard, or you could just like make a list and then do other marketing, cold call, text, or send direct mail from the web version also. But yeah, it's like super simple. Like just tap start, and then just keep tapping on the address.
Hey, this maybe isn't fair, because I understand the position you're in, but would you say that, because you're still wearing 2 hats, right? I mean, you own your rental portfolio. Are you still flipping?
I am. I flip about 25-30 houses a year.
So that is, for a lot of people, that is a full-time job, just doing that. And then you have your rental portfolio where you have a property management arm to your...
I own a property management company, yes.
Okay, so you have that. And then you have a software company that you
Right.
own and you are the CEO of and make strategic decisions. Like, where are we at on time management here, man? Like, this sounds like 3 full-time jobs, if not more.
It's actually not that bad. Like, my rental properties are obviously managed by my property management company. We have about 225 units that we manage, or 225 properties that we manage between my properties and other investors. And we have 3 or 4 people on the property management. I talk to the lead property manager maybe once a week for 30 minutes. So that's the extent of time I spend on running my property management business /
Is that person virtual?
I'm sorry?
Is that person virtual or
No, they're based in Indiana because they need to show they need to be licensed and stuff. So yeah, the property management team is the only team that's based in Indiana. So about half hour per week, just connecting with my property manager. If she has any questions, she'll text me and whatnot. I give her a decent percentage of the profit in that business, so she runs it, and I'm trying to give her equity in that business also. And then my house flipping business. So it's me, Claudia, who's my project manager, and then Jay, who's my lead / acquisition manager, and his wife, who's our cold caller. So myself and Claudia were based in California. She lives an hour north of me in Corona. And Jay and his wife live in Philippines. So we don't have anyone remote. So it's a very unique setup where we flip 25, 30 houses, all remote. I know the market in Indiana. I have not looked at any of the properties that I am flipping in 5 years now. I don't think I've actually been into any of the flips myself, step foot in any of the flips in last 5 years. I've only been to Indiana once in last 3 or 4 years. I was there a couple of weeks ago because my brother lives in Chicago. He lives outside of Chicago, so I was visiting family. So our entire family went there. So I went down to Indiana, just took my property management team out for lunch. And we had bought an 11 unit building a couple of months ago. So I just went and checked on that. But I didn't go look at any of the flips. It works fine. There's nothing for me to look at. The contractors that we have, I don't talk to them. They don't know who I am. I don't know them. I've never seen them, never talked to them. Like they have no interaction with me. And in that business, I spend about maybe 10, 15 minutes a day. We do a daily huddle. That's on my calendar for 15 minutes. And then once a week, we'll just kind of go through all the leads that we have. And then they're all, of course, using RESimpli. We'll go through the leads, on every Wednesday. So kind of see where everything is. So maybe spend like 30 minutes in total per week doing that. So it sounds, on the surface, it sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not, because of the team members that we have. Like that's where I feel, the biggest blessing is having the right team members. Like Claudia, she's been with me pretty much since I moved to Carlsbad. So she's been with me for about 8 years now. And she runs the entire flipping business. I have a separate bank account set up for her where I just move money to, and she pays the contractors from there. And I have a bookkeeper who runs the books from RESimpli. So, for me, the goal is, okay, how much money are we going to make? And then she gets a percentage of the profit if we make above a certain minimum number, which is 15,000. So if you make less than 15, she doesn't make any incentive. If we make more than 15, then she gets a percentage. As we make more, she gets more money on that deal. But that's how we have set up. It works for me. She goes out and visits now once every 3-4 months, as we're looking to scale up our business. But for me personally, maybe 5-10 minutes a day at most.
That's amazing. So you have fully embraced wearing the CEO hat as opposed to somebody that's a solopreneur or entrepreneur that's doing marketing and sales and like all the strategic and tactical stuff. So I really like what you've done here in that you've grown your organization organically by hiring people with good work ethics and then training for skill sets, and using those people to basically make your life a lot better and not have to be as invested mentally during the day. And then obviously your time has, sounds like gotten to a point where you can choose the things you're doing as opposed to like being involved in stuff you have to do all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for the most part, I'm
Really
involved
cool,
in very high level strategic things in the business. Like the team members that we have, right? The Claudia, she's absolutely amazing at project management. So there's nothing for me to add to that. If we're making the amount of money we thought we were going to make, there's nothing for me to get involved in, right? I mean, if we thought we're going to make, we're getting our ARV independently from a licensed agent, and then we get competitive contractor bids, and then my acquisition manager is making the offers on these properties. If we're making 30, 40, 50,000 on every deal, I'm happy with it without me getting involved in this thing. And then RESimpli takes about, like we have a pretty large team, pretty big customer base at this point. So one thing it takes is like meetings that I meet with my team regularly just to see kind of how things are going, with marketing, with CS and other things. But maybe 2-3 hours of actual like the work that it takes. And there's some other stuff that comes up, but 2-3 hours of stuff that it takes. Like one thing I really enjoy that I do in RESimpli is the product development, like the product management side of it. Okay, what the next set of things we're going to develop? Like how is it going to tie into what we have? Talking to our customers on what should be the next set of things we should work on. Like that's going to add the most value. That's the stuff I get most excitement from.
I love how proactive you are with your time management, and I think that because of that, you're going to have a great answer to this question. I love to ask everybody because this is always every time I talk to anybody that's in real estate investing, this seems to be top of mind. But how many kids do you have?
2.
Okay. And with working this many jobs, the property management, the CEO position, like how are you doing the work-life, fame-life balance? Like what is it things that you make sure that you do every time to put time away from the family?
I think like there's a couple of things, right? I took this coaching course from Darren Hardy. So he talks about like the first thing you have to do is, yes, you want to, show for your family. But before you do that, I think like that I believe in this, like one thing that you have to do is you have to be a little selfish. You have to be the best version of yourself before you can, show up for your family. Like I don't want to be 60 years old, overweight, not in the best health, because then I'm not being an asset for my family, right? So one thing I do is like I've started doing recently cold plunges and like going to meditation and stuff. So like working out, doing meditation, cold plunges, playing pickleball, like the rec stuff. It helps me de-stress a lot. So when I show up for my family, like I don't have any calls after because I live in Pacific time. So usually my day ends at like 3-4 o'clock. So I don't have any calls after that. But, spending time with my family, like after 6 o'clock when, kids are home and everything, having dinner, like I just took them to park yesterday just because they're like, hey, let's just go to park for 30 minutes. I just spend some time there and making sure like you set up your calendar and then live by your calendar. If I have some time blocked on my calendar to do something, right, then like do that. We'll go out like every Saturday. We go out to the same restaurant for brunch every single Saturday, just because it becomes like a family thing to spend time together. I've started reading with my son. My son is 8. He's going to be 8 in November. My daughter is 4. So one thing I've started doing is I see the power of like the mindset, how it can influence your life in a positive, negative way. So I've started, giving him allowance on, I choose the book that he reads. And if he reads like 10 pages of that, like he gets $1 per day towards a big goal that he's saving for, which is a PS5 now that he wants to save. So I'm helping him towards that. But he needs to read 10 pages of a personal development book for kids. And then I'll ask him, I'll sit down and I'm like, okay, what did you learn from it? I'm reading a book that Mindset, Carol Dweck wrote. So there's a version for kids for it. So I'll read that with him and I'll ask him, okay, what does growth mindset do? What does fixed mindset do? Okay, how would you use growth mindset? Do you have fixed mindset? Do you have growth mindset? Just so that he starts thinking about it, doing those sort of things. And then that I absolutely love. And, spending time with family, like going out on weekends, like just this past Saturday, we live like 5 minutes from Legoland. We just went to Legoland for no reason. We have annual membership, just spend like 5-6 hours there. We live close to San Diego Zoo, so we'll go to San Diego Zoo. I think to me, like that's the most value I can add to my family is by being present for them. Of course, I want to help support, financially, provide them a certain lifestyle. But the best thing I can do for them is make them responsible, and give them the right work ethics for the long term. Because if they have that, then they're going to be happy. They're going to do, anything that they want in their life. So doing those sort of things is important for me. Just being present and having good time, like not physically present, but emotionally present also.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. I asked this question to pretty much everybody that has kids on this podcast, and I had a lot of great takeaways on that. So thank you so much. That was great content.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Sharad, we have we kind of teased this a little bit when we were talking pre-air, but we have a section that we call Failing Forward.
And this Failing Forward is brought to you by
JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions, we have trillions with a T to lend. 844 we close, or go online, jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
We talk about a situation or a deal or something that went sideways in your life or business, what you learned from it, maybe some learning lessons along the way. Got anything that comes to mind like that?
Of course, I've had deals where I've lost money on, we lost 50, 60,000 on a deal that we bought outside of our, swim lane. It was just way too expensive. But those, you kind of know I shouldn't have done that. But I think the biggest lessons for me, like the good ones and the bad ones, have come for me from hiring the right people or hiring the wrong people. That's definitely, those are the ones that have had the biggest impact in our business. Is, where I've had more than my fair share of bad peoples that we've hired. And those are the ones you learn the most from. Is, okay, where did I make a mistake? And what are the things that you can improve with the next hire so you don't make the same mistake? I hired one person, this was for my house flipping business. She was a local person in Indiana who's going to help us go take pictures of the properties, help us be a assistant to our project manager, to Claudia. And then, she started, cheating on some stuff that she was doing, not being honest with the money that she was spending on certain things. We kind of started giving more responsibility, and then it turned out there's some things going on. She was stealing money from us, and that's where you're okay, we should have had some better systems and processes built in. That's where you need to learn from. But yeah, and also same thing, hiring the two team members that I have, I think of them almost as co-founders of the company now, my CTO and the head of our marketing department. And these were people that I hired virtually. I'd never even, I don't think I'd even done a video call with them for the longest period of time. So I would, they started with making $3 and $6 an hour. And then now they're making pretty good salary comparable to what someone would make in US. But that's what I built the team around them, and they're the one who take responsibility and help me grow. But that would have never happened. I would have not seen the value of these individuals that I have if I did not have the experience of hiring bad people. So it's when you hire someone bad, that's when you start appreciating the good people that you have in your business even more.
Now, Sharad, we have one remaining section here. By the way, I do want to call out the fact that you're talking about hiring people. What strikes me about your approach to this is that you're investing in leveling people up and improving their lives, making your job easier as a CEO running a business, but you're giving them more responsibility, more money, more training. You mentioned you had somebody working for you for $6 an hour, $3 an hour, and over time they grew in responsibility and skill level.
That person making six figures in US dollars now.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking cool. I just wanted to call that out because that's not a common approach. It's usually hire and fire and try and just churn people until you find the right mix temporarily to satisfy your investors or whatever. So I think it's pretty cool, man.
I think once you find the right people, like you have to invest in them, right? You have to like really appreciate that. Like for example, we had a team meeting with our CS team this morning, and one thing we do, especially with our CS team, is every week they get a survey sent out. It's a totally anonymous survey where they rate their experience working with us on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, oh, you're going to see a 2-week notice from me tomorrow. I'm out of here. I hate this job. And 10 being, this is the best job ever. So if they give us less than 10, then we ask them, okay, what we could have done to make it a 10.
Yeah.
So every week it goes out, and then that's something I look at on a weekly basis. If it's less than 10, why was it 10? And what's the feedback? It's totally anonymous. And I tell them, hey, you can reach out to me directly if you have any concerns. And a couple of team members have reached out. And then we want to make sure we get it addressed. I think that makes a difference where people feel like they are, they're heard and they're acknowledged, what they need. And then, we have a pretty big team based in Philippines, and we consistently hear this from them that this is the first time someone actually has asked them about their feedback. But to me, it's like, why would I not ask that? Like, you guys are the ones actually talking to our customers. Why would I not want you to be happy? Right? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I think it's really important to invest back into the people, because in the end, if those people leave you, I mean, it's such a setback to go through the retrain and find a new person, and you already know that this person's a rock star.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Why do you want to give it up? And I have an assistant, John, that's out of the Philippines as well, and I mean, he's really becoming a staple in my life and my business over the last year. And I definitely don't want to lose him, and I don't want to go through that process. And I already know all his strengths. It takes time to really find somebody's true strengths, and to be able to, put them to use, especially when you're working with a VA.
By the way, he listens to this, and he's going to record what you just said and play that back for you when it comes to annual review time.
He might make a short for that too.
It's featured now.
Yeah, he proves all the podcasts we know.
Yeah. Hey, John, you're doing an amazing work, man. John, thank you so much for everything you do.
All right. Well, Sharad, this has been, dude, so much fun. I like really impressive story. We could talk I have a whole bucket load of questions I could ask. So we have one last section that we call the OT with Owen and Ted, where we have the same questions we ask every guest. And
Sharad, every time we say one of these things together, he just has a giggle on his face. He's like, these guys are so cheesy.
No, this is good. This is the longest podcast I've done and the most fun I've had in a long time. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Okay, I'm going to throw on the readers for the older viewers here so you can relate.
Hey, my readers didn't show up yet.
Yeah, it sucks getting old, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really need them.
Yeah, he's been making fun of me for the last several years. Now all of a sudden, boom, eye exam.
Within 3 months, my vision is just gone.
Yeah, he knows. All right. So as far as we know, our crack research team, which involves Aiden and Ted when he's at the gym, has not discovered that you've written any books yet. But we were curious if you had one in the hopper, or you had, you were like kind of ruminating on a book topic or title. What would it be?
I think it would be like keep things simple, and keep doing what. Yeah, I mean, just like keep it simple. I think sometimes keeping things simple is the most difficult thing to do, because you get so inundated with so much information you have, and you feel like in order to get to the next level, you need to do something super complicated. But I think just keep things simple. It's how I like to run things. I have a very, very simple life, and I absolutely love it. I would not trade that for anything else.
Real estate investing simplified.
Perfect example.
Goes right along with the business name.
Yeah, exactly.
Ted, what do you got?
Okay, so we are on your podcast, and you can interview anyone in the world today that's alive. Who is it, and what's the one question you want to ask?
Does it have to be a real estate person?
No.
Nope.
Can I choose someone who's dead then? Or it has to be someone alive?
I suppose.
This is his thing, man. I don't know what his hang up is about live people.
The reason I asked that, just so you know, is I hope that I get some feedback of somebody that I should reach out to get on the podcast.
Okay, yeah. No, then I was going to say Marcus Aurelius. He's...
Oh,
yeah.
Good answer.
Okay,
yeah.
wait.
But obviously... What? Don't know who that is?
Oh, the gladiator? Marcus who?
He's a Roman emperor, there's a book called Meditations based on kind of his writing. So that's the person I would want to talk to. But if it's someone alive, I would say like, I can't think of anything, but I would say Donald Trump, just to have that level of confidence. I think like regardless of what side of the politics you're, like you gotta and you gotta admire like the level of confidence that he has.
He is very polarizing regardless.
I would definitely,
if you agree or disagree with him.
I'm going to reach out and see if I can get an interview with Donald.
Okay. Well, keep us posted. All right, Sharad. We are at the end of your long and successful life, and we have someone walking up to the head of the what do you call the
altar?
Is it the altar?
I don't know.
Okay, they're walking up
Podium
by your casket, about ready to give a eulogy. Who's this going to be?
I don't know, man. In our culture, we cremate, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But
Your urn is sitting up there, and somebody's getting up to say some stuff about you. Who's it going to be, and what do you hope they're going to say?
I would want it to be my son, and I would want him to say that I was present there for him. Yeah.
Love it.
Reverts right back to what we've been talking about all this time. What mentor in your life has had the biggest impact on you, and either on your personal life or business?
I mean, it's kind of hard to choose. Like you go through different seasons in your life. When you need something. Like I read a lot of books, so you need a different book at different stage in your life. I mean, I work with a business coach now at this stage in my business, so he kind of keeps me focused and grounded in what I need to do. Like I literally have a sticky note on my screen that just talks about my goal. It's just one simple number that I need to reach by the end of the year. So he helps me with that. When I'm talking about, we need to do this, we need to like, no, Sharad, you need to get to your 1 year goal before you have earned the right to talk about other things. But I mean, like the books that I read, they've all influenced me in some way or the other, right? The one thing comes to mind, the book that I mentioned earlier about E-Myth Revisited, like, that had a huge influence on how I ran my business. Like A Millionaire Real Estate Investor, like that's the book that got me started. So,
and Flip.
And Flip. So yeah, like all of those things, they like, you need like a certain book at certain, time in your life and you're going through struggling with something, or there's some next piece of puzzle that you're trying to put together, then you need a certain book or certain person to come in. So like one of the things that I do is like every day I have to listen to 30 minutes of an audiobook. So when I take my dog for a walk a couple of times a day, that's like 20 minutes, and then I'm like going for a drive somewhere, I'm going to listen for another 10-15 minutes. Like just it keeps like reaffirming some of the things that you have. That helps a lot.
I still have that book, actually, Flip. It was like by Clay Davis and Joe Vicante, if I remember right. I was flipping like I wanted to flip, and I bought rentals, but that was kind of really early on, and I was just like, holy crap, this is the best book on the market right now. Talking about flipping, like, and it talked about acquisitions and the rehab costs and like how to dispose. Like I was just like, wow, this is it. Like this is the book I've been looking for. And I love what you said there about, I don't know how exactly you put it, but it's basically like you have seasons in your life. And when you have different pieces of information or people that arrive at different times, and they can make a huge impact, even if a little bit later on your perspective may shift and you say, I don't really necessarily agree with what they said at the time, but when I heard it or when I read it or when I absorbed that information, it was hugely, impactful for me. I really like that. I don't think I've ever really heard it put that way, but I 100% agree. How can our listeners support you or reach out to you and learn more about your business? I know you're not a huge social media guy, but if somebody liked what they're hearing today and just likes your jam in general, what's the best way to reach out?
I mean, the best way is my email, Sharad@RESimpli.com, SHARAD@RESimpli.com. That's the best way to reach me. As far as supporting me is concerned, I don't know, man. Like, just be the best version of yourself, and that's how you support yourself. That's how you support the world. And I'm gonna be the best version of myself for you. You be the best version of yourself for me. I feel absolutely blessed with the life that I have, what I get to do. I get up every morning, like absolutely amazingly blessed, like living in a beautiful place and a beautiful home. I could not have imagine this live. But yeah, I mean, like, just be the best version of yourself for me, and I'll be the best version of myself for you. And that's how we take care of each other.
Love it.
Sharad, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time to, out of your busy day to be here. I know that you got a lot going on. Also want to shout out your team. Your team's absolutely amazing. We've been working together with our local Omaha REIA group. You've been a sponsor of the podcast for the last couple months, so thank you for your support and everything you've done there. And if you are looking to expand your real estate investment business, please check out RESimpli.com and see what they have to offer. They are the best in the industry, and everybody I talk to that uses their services says they are the best in the industry, and there's a reason why, and it's because you got such a strong CEO sitting right here. And I hope you guys took lots of notes because this content was absolutely amazing. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Owen, for having me.
And with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of REIA Radio, Aiden Bear, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner, and you have been listening to Sharad, the poker player, pickleball pro, and property mogul.
So many P's.
Meta. Signing off.
How old do you think Owen is?
Oh, man. I'm going to guess 54?
49. Got 50 knocking on the door here in September or November. See, I'm
no, for real?
Yeah.
No.
That's okay. We'll edit that out.
Yeah. REIA Radio. I want to retake on that. Yeah.
Great
so
radio.
Owen, radio edit. So Owen, I think I want to say, let me think. Owen, just turn to the right. Yeah. And left. 42?
Man, nailed it.
Yeah. See?
I love it.
Yeah.
Editors, go and leave all that in, please.
Yeah, that's great.